Hello, everybody. I cannot tell you everything about Panama Francis because he had a very, very interesting life. I can tell you he was born in Miami in 1918 or so to an unusual family for Miami at that time. A Haitian father and a mother who came from an English property owning family. That means they had some money and they had some property in the Bahamas, which would suggest that his mother was mixed race. Now, he grew up in Miami, that little boy grew up in Miami at that time. And there were lots of things to do to support kids. These are tough times racially in the entire country, but black folks had little social clubs and church clubs and things that supported the kids and kept them safe and gave them something to do. We were very self-reliant and also very segregated. So, young David is his name, grew up playing in little marching bands and drum and bugle corps. Actually had little drum and bugle corps all over the South, even all black ones. That's a history that most people would not know looking at contemporary drum corps today. But yeah, had all these little all black drum corps normally sponsored by churches or some kind of a civic group. Well, he learned to play drums in those organizations, which means he probably had really good rudimental chops. Really fast hands, really great hands, really strong hands, good power, good technique, all that stuff. He progressed very, very well and became kind of a little local celebrity for a young kid. By 15, 16, he's playing gigs here and there, and he's catching an eye on some of the big guys in the area. One of his homeboys, a couple of years older than him, George Kelly, had a band, and he really wanted to have that powerful, steady, grooving drummer. We know David Francis there in the band, so he hired him as a young guy, and that became his first real gig. They did a little touring, regional touring, area touring, a little bit of national touring. They got around a little bit. And this is how he got started into professional music. At some point, he found himself in New York. And when he got there, I think he was like 20, 21. And he's looking around for things to do, and of course at that time the hottest place for someone who wants to swing and have a good time and play good time music would have been a Savoy Ballroom with the Lindy Hoppers and the hundreds of maybe thousands of people there dancing and having a good time and dressed up nice. That was the scene, that was the place, that was the spot, baby. He had to be there. And within a couple of years of arriving in New York, all the way from Miami, Florida, he found himself playing right there with Lucky Milner's band. And Lucky wasn't really, no one could figure out really what he did. He could dance a little bit. He was a great entertainer. He could tell jokes, a great MC. He did an MC guy, radio personality. But he didn't play any instruments, and he didn't sing. He just talked a lot of trash and danced and entertained and knew how to surround himself with people who could play and sing and dance to make him look better. Well, that was how Panama got into the Apollo, which set him on this course of playing more dance music in the late 30s, just as bebop is beginning to evolve. It's right around the corner. And things are getting ready to change. And he is getting there, and which should have been the end of the swing era, but that's where he started. And he liked that whole thing with dancers, the Lindy Hoppers, the entertainment. He liked that whole groove thing. He loved it. So he tried this little thing and that little thing, and nothing was quite what it needed to be for him. He did a little touring, and that kind of wore him out a little bit, and he had fairly expensive taste. He needed to make some money to support his way of living. So he decided that he'd do some studio work, and not jazz studio work. This emerging music that was coming out at the same time as bebop. On the other side was R&B, or jump swing, or whatever you want to call it. It's the beginning of rock and roll. And that is what Panama Francis gravitated to. And it worked for him great throughout the 40s. And into the 50s, he's doing all kinds of studio stuff with people like Bobby Darin, that's right, the Four Seasons, Walk Like a Man, Big Girls Don't Cry, Splish Splash, all that. The Platter Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, you know, he's on all that. Ray Charles, played with him, Drowning My Own Tears. Dana Washington, What a Difference a Day Makes. Jackie Wilson. Biggest hit, Real Delight, yeah. He is responsible for some of the biggest hits in popular music. The beginnings of rock and roll, R&B, soul. Panama Francis was back there laying down that groove, man. And for most artists, the record he played on was their biggest hit. So people sought him out because he was kind of the hit maker with that groove that he would lay down, being so strong, probably because of his early marching band, drum corps training, and because he came out of jazz and swinging with a big band. Now, he was called a traitor by a lot of guys. I came up with it. Man, you're a traitor. You playing that old stuff. You gave up on jazz. You probably can't even play jazz no more. Well, not really true. He was still doing jazz at the Philharmonic concerts with George Wayne. He was still doing European tours and things like that. In the 80s, he did a stint with the Benny Goodman Quartet. He did something with Lionel Hampton in '95. In the 80s, he also recreated a group from the 40s and called the Savoy Sultans, which was kind of like a big band, house band, that followed Chick Webb after Chick Webb's demise. They were like a house band at the Savoy, the Sultans. He recreated that. And in a concert at Carnegie Hall, he even brought in some former Lindy Hopper dancers from the Savoy to perform on stage with his big band to show people that this music was originally made for dancing. Jazz was made for shaking your butt, rubbing your bellies, that kind of thing. And he had the Lindy Hoppers there showing you how their dance interpreted that music. So he was fighting back at his detractors. All right, you're right. I'm doing this pop stuff. And you may say I'm a traitor, but this music started out making people groove and dance, and you all got them sitting down, a lot of them bored and walking away from you all, so who's the real traitor here? That was kind of his message. I think somewhere around 1995 or so, when he did the concert, the Golden Men of Jazz, with Lionel Hampton, he was beginning to have health problems, and so he sat down and wrote his autobiography. That's called David Gets His Drum. It's probably worth buying that just to really get a breast of how much this band contributed to so many great artists and how many songs we have danced to, sung along with, partied with, and didn't realize that Panama was right there doing his thing with that. It was him. He did have a little time with Ellington. He had a time with this guy and that guy. He played in all the big bands for years and years. He did his thing on the jazz side. But when he started doing studio work, he made some of the best recordings ever made. And ladies and gentlemen, he's from Miami. Oh yeah. Why is he called Panama Francis? Never. I thought maybe because of the way he looked, he may have been from Panama. No. It turns out that he got picked up to do a gig with Roy Eldridge. And Roy Eldridge probably been drinking a little bit that night. And when it got around to the time to introduce the band, he knew most of the cats, but he looked back there at the drummer and he couldn't remember his name for anything. But the drummer had on this real sharp Panama hat. And Roy Hargrove goes, okay, that's Panama back there on the drums. And that nickname stuck with him and became his signature right into this very moment. So David, Panama Francis, Miami, George Kirby. Oh, I did mention that before he went to New York, he also went up through Tampa, that's right, Tampa, and Tallahassee as a part of the Florida Collegians, which was a big band that at one time included Cannonball Adderley and Nat Adderley and a whole lot of people out of that esteemed institution known as Florida A&M University. At that time, it was Florida A&M College, so it was known as FAMC. But the Florida Collegians, and later the FAMU Collegians, and then back to the Florida Collegians, was a part of that legacy in the late 30s, 38, 39, 40, 41. All of this is actually before Dr. Foster came there as head of the music department and developed the Marching 100, because I think Dr. Foster came there in 1944. So Panama Francis would never have worked with him, but he would have been there before he got there, supporting the institution with the Florida Collegians. So a very interesting career, a very different career, but a lot of great music and a steadfast adherence to the concept of dance, groove, and swing, baby. That is what you get from a cat from Miami named Panama Francis. Thank you very much.